Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing an acrylic tie-dye tumbler tutorial. I'm going to show you how to paint a tie-dye design using just some simple acrylic paints and some paintbrushes. I was super inspired by Cheyenne Kuhn. She's one of the members of Flynn Sisters community group. You can find her on TikTok and on Facebook with Sugar Glam Tumblers. She's super talented. I absolutely love how she does these tie-dye cups, and I hope that mine turned out as good as hers. I don't think it did. But anyway, I'm going to show you guys how I do this, and I hope you enjoy the tutorial. Let's get started. All right, so as usual, we're going to start with a fully sanded and cleaned and spray painted tumbler. We just used a white matte spray paint for the white. And I first want to kind of map out my tie-dye design with pencil. I like to do this a lot just to kind of give me an idea of how I want to arrange the design on the cup. When you're mapping this out, I don't know if you guys would want to do the same thing, but it was my personal preference that the edges of the spiral would kind of come together and meet at the end after all the colors have gone through, if that makes sense. So in other words, I want that spiral to envelop the whole diameter of the cup. Okay, I hope I said that right. Whatever. And these are the paints that we're using. Of course, we're using Arteza's premium acrylic paints. I used both the iridescent and the regular acrylics on this one. And I started with the iridescent paints. Now, in hindsight, I kind of wish that I would have not used the iridescent paints. I do still like the look. It's just they're iridescent, so they're not going to give you very good coverage. And I probably would have had to do a lot less painting had I had started with just the regular acrylic colors. It still looked pretty though. So basically all I'm doing here is I'm starting with my first color, and I'm gonna line up the edges of the first colored strokes along that pencil line that I created. Okay, and don't worry if this part is perfect because we're going to be going over it a second time. So just keep that in mind. And I'm really just doing kind of random strokes here. This is super simple. If you can paint a somewhat straight dash, then you can do this too. And just really take your time. I'm not gonna lie, I probably spent a good hour and a half on this. So these are a little bit time consuming, but they're a lot of fun, and I'm really excited to try a new color combination after I finish this one. When I move on to the second color, I want to make sure that I clean my brush between each color. So when you get to this orange, you're going to rinse off your brush in some like kind of warm water. I've got a little cup there of water that you can't see. And I'm just going to pick up my next color, and I'm just going to apply that second color kind of in between the lines of the first color, but not totally in between, if you will. Like it's going to be a little bit halfway through. You'll see what I mean here in a bit. So you're just gonna kind of go through and put in that second color, and you're really gonna repeat this process through all of the colors. I wanted to let mine dry a little bit between the darker and the lighter colors. That way I wasn't gonna get it looking kind of like muddy. So you do want to give a good like maybe 30 minutes between those high contrasting colors, just to make sure they don't like smear and look all messy. another thing I wanted to mention was that if you want to like have fun with the colors on this, I spent a good amount of time mixing the colors in it. I would do like one stroke and see how the color looked, and if I didn't like it, I would just mix in some different colors until I got a color I liked. Also, before I put the green in, I did let the yellow, orange, and red dry first, because again, I didn't want to be mixing these colors too much. And it doesn't really take long for these colors to dry, especially if you're in a warm environment. My garage was like 80 degrees while I was filming this, so the paint dried super fast, so you shouldn't have to wait too long for that. Now, you also want to pay attention to how much room you're giving yourself to fit all the colors in. Keep in mind, you can go into that red a little bit with the purple. It's not going to be a big deal, but just kind of be like, you know, conscious of it when you're putting in those strokes so that you have plenty of room to get through all the colors that you want to use. Now, that also is something that you want to think about when you're drawing out the spiral. And one thing that I wish I would have had done better was make the spiral a little wider towards the outer edges, if that makes sense. But whatever, this was my first one and I learned a lot. So learn from my mistakes, I guess. All right, so when I got to the back here, I just kind of did that like one single line of the purple, and I thought that blended the back two edges really well. Also, I'm going to let all of that dry for about 30 minutes, and then I go in to do a second coat. And I'm basically just tracing over the same lines that I'd made before, and I'm using the same color sequence as I did before. The only difference this time is I'm using a finer brush rather than that flat angled brush. And I really like the look that this one gave me. Also, through the second coat, I'm doing just the regular premium acrylic colors and not the iridescent. And I said this in the beginning of the video, I wish I would have just started with the regular premium acrylics, but whatever. So anyway, I'm just going through, and anywhere that I see like some white or some color correction that I need to do in this step, I'm just making those corrections and filling it all in until it looks vibrant and beautiful and kind of resembles tie-dye. Anyway, so yeah, this is pretty much it. So you're just going to kind of keep playing with it until you like it. Definitely want to be careful that you don't do too many layers, because I noticed it could kind of start looking a little crazy. On the bottom, I just freehanded the spiral. I did not draw it. I probably should have, but it's the bottom, so whatever. And I just started with the first color. And just worked my way through in the same color sequence. I didn't have enough room to do the purple on the bottom, really, but that's fine. And I just kind of wrapped the color around the edge a little bit to meet the colors on the sides to make sure there was no white showing. And I think it turned out pretty good. So after you get all this paint on here, I did let it dry for about 24 hours. And then after the paint was dry, I did one coat of epoxy. I let that coat dry for 8 to 12 hours. I sanded my rim like I normally would, washed it all off, applied my decal, and then I applied 2 final coats of epoxy on this one. And that was it. I was done. So kind of easy. It's just kind of time consuming, but I really love this look, and the color combinations and the looks that you can get are so much fun. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with on these. Tie-dye is so in right now. Also, if you want to use the SVG that I used on my cup, you can find it for free in the file section of the Flynn Sisters community group. You will find a link to that group down in the description box below. You'll also find a link to these paints from Arteza and any of the other supplies that we used during this tutorial. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you soon. If you love this video, you could check out our last video here. Also be sure to find us on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and of course subscribe for all our new videos that come out every Wednesday and Saturday. Thanks so much for watching. See you soon.